Welcome to Thrones and Scones. We survived season 1. We survived just the longest, most rambly episode you ever did see this last weekend. And now we're back, your weekday morning podcast talking Game of Thrones over breakfast, or if you're still in your New Year's resolutions at this point, over that black cup of coffee that sadly has far too few calories. It's Tony, Hans, and Jeremy in with you today, hitting season 2, episode 1, and Lemon Poppy Seed, adding a little brightness to a otherwise very dark episode. Good morning, guys. What is going on? How are you?
Good.
Excellent. Monday morning. Back to the work week. Hell.
I took the day off, so.
Yeah, no, and right into the episode. It was good. I mean, as most of us have already talked about, going back and rewatching some of this stuff, I'm making notes of all these little small things that are intriguing, kind of funny, and I think this was actually a good episode. Again, I feel like pacing again is pretty good. I get right into kind of some things I really enjoy, but I think we'll kind of go over the summary first, right?
Of course. Just in case anyone is not rewatching with us, just to put you in the right headspace here, The North remembers, Season 2, Episode 1, as Robb Stark and his northern army continue the war against the Lannisters. Tyrion arrives in King's Landing to counsel Joffrey and temper the young king's excesses. It's an odd word choice. On the island of Dragonstone, Stannis Baratheon plots an invasion to claim his late brother's throne, allying himself with the fiery Melisandre, a strange priestess of a stranger god. Across the sea, Daenerys, her 3 young dragons, and Khalasar, which is like, 12 people at this point, trek through the Red Waste in search of allies or water. They're not picky. It's like we either want allies and ships to take the 7 kingdoms, or just like 2 gallons of water. You know, they're equal in their eyes. In the North, Bran presides over a threadbare Winterfell, while beyond the wall, Jon Snow and the Night's Watch must shelter with a devious wildling. This is it's a big opening episode, and here is, I think, the thing that we had already talked about, where season 10 didn't seem like a great end. Like, it would have been better to end with everything that happened in season 9 of episode 9 of season 1. I'm just a mess this morning. But I think that everything that they got rolling, Arya getting to where she is, Robb kind of taking that stance in the war, and them going beyond the wall, making the point to show that, really set up season 2 to kind of start on a bit more active foot than they could have otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I liked where it starts. Robb is starting to become such a good character, like kind of playing that role of someone that you want to root for, comparable to Ned now, right? I feel like this season definitely Robb is that person where you look forward to seeing him develop into kind of a moral character. And also Tyrion, we start to get a lot from him in this season as well. So this episode was, it's good. It's an enjoyable one to watch, and I think we'll talk about a lot of the kind of high points and low. But I'll just start off with kind of my favorite part, and I think everyone can agree, which kind of is a little unsettling. But when Cersei bitch slaps Joffrey, it is so refreshing, right? Like, just the look on his face, and it's like, and I get she understands. She's like, "Holy shit, I just smacked the king," and he kind of retorts with his bullshit. But she's not used to this. She's always building into her, like, I'm gonna take control of this family. I'm gonna lead to this great kingdom, and I think it kind of stuns her when he is turning on her in a way, and she's uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, it's asking that question that I don't think both of them want answered, which is, who among us really has the upper hand here? Because, she slaps him, everyone sees it, and they stop what they're doing very comically, sitcom like, oh? And then the second he looks back, they're like, oh, yeah,
let me hit this wood right here.
And so it asks that question. He says, what you just did is punishable by death. You will never do it again. And you get to see in her the thing, it's like, could he? Would he?
Yeah.
Maybe? And then you get to see it in him where he says it, and, he's got the conviction behind it. He's got those wild Joffrey eyes, but I think there's a little bit that also goes, could I? Would I? It's asking that question, and it leaves it unanswered. It is a cool moment. There's very few times when I like Cersei, this is one of the episodes in it, and it's all about catharsis because we get her slapping Joffrey, and we also get her really putting Littlefinger in his place.
I was just about to bring that up, man. The whole power statement, and I even give Baelish the credibility there for still continuing. I mean, he's from day one said, look, I mean, I don't have an army, I don't have the ability to win a battle, but like I will mind fuck you into the ground, right? And he's like, and he says that. I mean, he's very kind of like snakish to her, and like, I mean, come on, we're talking about, you know, you fucking Jaime, and the question of Joffrey's heritage, and she's like, well played. By the way, I'm gonna slit your throat just in case you try that shit again. Yeah, because they will turn around, they won't watch whatever I do to you. None of these men are gonna do a damn thing unless I tell them to. And I think where he has that of like, look how smart I am, he immediately gets, despite all of the strategy and planning I have, I can still die in this very moment.
Yeah. Peter Baelish, his best moments, I think, and best being from what would Peter Baelish want, you know, the best of Littlefinger is when people are underestimating him. And in the rest of the show, and leading to his ultimate downfall and everything, like it always comes when he thinks that he has the upper hand. The second that he thinks that, he is wrong.
Right.
And someone really just goes out of their way to put him in his place, and it feels so good. Right. I thought it was a good moment. It wasn't my favorite, because that scene with Robb Stark and Jaime is so very good. And I have some questions about it, but Robb interrogating Jaime in that cell, talking and just throwing back, like, not only, as you said, Jeremy, are we getting that, you know, love to root for mentality in Robb Stark, but he is winning the battles. Like, Ned felt like this underdog who you're like, oh yeah, I want to root for him, but I don't think that this is going to go well. You're like hoping against hope. Whereas Robb Stark, you're like, things are aligning, like this could happen. Let's do it. Right. And I'm sure nothing will derail that ever. But
did it bother you with the whole Jaime thing where he, like, you know, says you have no proof for Bran? And I'm like, but you just admitted to Catelyn that you did it. Like,
I don't remember that.
Isn't that where he says, you know, for proof that you pushed out his brother, you know, and he's like, you know, you have no proof, you can't prove it, or we're gossiping or whatever. But like, he literally tells Catelyn, you know, and he won't give the reason why he did it, but he tells her he did it.
Oh, I think what he meant there is you have no proof of, because Robb says, you pushed my little brother out because he saw you with the queen, and he says you have no proof. I think it meant like,
oh, no proof of
the
that
incest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I wrote my note down wrong because I was like, what the fuck? Like, clearly everyone knows you did it. I mean, it's not like Catelyn's not talking to Robb about this. I just thought it was a weird moment. So yeah, I can totally see your point there. Hans, what did you think?
Yeah. I thought the episode was pretty good. A lot of good parts. I think just given the way I'm binging these eps right now, I feel like coming off season 1, coming off episode 9 and 10 from season 1, season 2, not that I think it perfectly necessary. I just think I was so pumped in season 9 and 10 since so much was happening. They were so action packed that going straight to episode 1 here was a little bit, you know, you had to take a step back. Was much more character building. Started off a little slower, but overall, for an intro season ep, I thought it was pretty good. I think my favorite part, I like a couple different parts for different reasons. So I like the Hound versus the random dude fight right in the beginning, just because it's sweet, and I always like them battle scenes. But I think my favorite scene, which is kind of an interesting one, and not necessarily the scene itself, but more of what it implies for the show, which we haven't seen as much of yet in season 1, is so we get introduced to Stannis, Melisandre, Davos, that whole kind of thing, and we've heard of Stannis at least so far, but when the man tries to poison Melisandre and she takes the drink, or he takes the drink first and then she takes the drink and he dies, obviously. Well, I guess he starts dying and then she takes the drink. because she's
it's a
just
baller move.
trying to be baller. So this is, and she just chugs the whole thing, right? And nothing happens. So this is, and obviously we have dragons. We know this is a fantasy world. We have White Walkers and stuff. But to me, this is like the first time you start to see like kind of other elements at play in the show, and that there's these people that aren't necessarily just people, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think that's pretty cool, because obviously that plays out into more stuff, and I think it just builds on the fantasy element of the show a little bit, which I think is pretty cool. Nerdy, but cool.
Super nerdy, yeah. It's also the introduction of these characters, which I think could have been better. I understand that they're not like the most epic of people. The Melisandre introduction was cool. Stannis I'm meh about, and I continue to be meh about Stannis for the most part. But this is also when we understand that the title scene can change. We add Dragonstone to the little intro, which is cool, and they make some changes within the season and stuff. You know, it becomes this fluctuating thing. It's alive, just like the show, which is cool. But yeah, as far as Davos and Stannis and everything like that, it played a little flat to me.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah. I'm not a big Stannis fan to begin with. I don't mind. I think Davos is a good character. I like him a lot.
As you're saying with the poison scene, and this is a problem that somebody has in the next episode as well. It's just a lack of subtlety in this season. He does it so visibly. Like, I understand that, you know, she becomes knowing of it and he dies and whatever, but I don't care about her. Like, sure, maybe she can't see him poisoned. Davos can. And I think every other guy at that table could very easily see him just pull out
everyone's
this pill.
eating, and he's like, hey, let me just shove this in my drink.
Yeah, it's not like he picks up the drink and like casually does it close to his chest. He like holds out this pill and drops it from a distance into the goblet.
Splashes in.
He's like, excuse me, gotta wipe this up. I splashed some poison here.
So I thought that was funny, but it was okay. Going back to the just to question every scene, and I was talking about this before we were recording. It's so obvious, like when I'm watching scenes, if it's late at night and I'm like just about to go to bed, everything I write is so critical. So I kind of like this episode a lot, but everything is a question. It's like a passive aggressive question. So just can I run you through some of my passive aggressive questions?
Yeah.
Perfect. Why would a wildling know about dragon omens? Asha makes this nice little claim that, comets or the stars don't fall for men. That thing means one thing, dragons. And I get that the wildlings are superstitious people, but the north of the wall is the one place the dragons haven't conquered. Yeah. So why would they know anything about dragon omens? I don't understand.
That's actually my least favorite part in the show.
Yeah. It's a little silly. To take Craster's Keep, you'd have to kill one old man. Nobody's ever done it. No one's ever done it. Like, I'm not even talking. I get why the Night's Watch doesn't do it, but nobody's done it.
These are perfect segues, because I was actually going to say in one of the last episodes, you are absolutely right, Tony. I was totally thinking of Craster when I was talking about Walder Frey. So.
Him bedding and wedding his daughters.
Yeah, exactly.
the old bed and wed. Let's see. Yeah, the dude poisoned the wine very visibly. Does Rob practice that wolf intimidation scene? Like, do they get practice dummies and like dog treats, and they're like, all right, snap real close to his face,
and then disappear,
and then back off? Yeah, I do wonder that. And then, and then at the end I just wrote, bastard killing montage.
Yeah, that was pretty, when Joffrey sends out for Baratheons bastards to be killed.
Oof. Just rough. That baby scene is rough.
That's actually my bad. That was, I don't know, it's uncomfortable.
And it's certainly you're supposed to build this hate, I think, as if we didn't hate Janos Slynt enough for turning on Ned. We didn't necessarily have the face to associate it with it. It was just kind of like the Gold Cloaks. And now it's like really setting up like, oh yeah, this dude's a piece of shit. Yeah. And then it's like the Telltale Games thing right in the corner. Tony, Hans, and Jeremy will remember that.
Yeah. I think there's for me too, exactly like when I'm watching the show or what time of night or what mood I'm in definitely impacts my my note taking as well, because I must have been watching this episode pretty late, because I didn't even write down that scene. I have 5 notes written down, and I must have just assumed that I would remember, or like
you're like, obviously it's a huge scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing that and something else I wrote down, that it just seems And then usually I'm the one who's like, yeah, this is awesome. But the whole Shay thing with the whole stool and cum and wanting to fuck, like, just the most random shit sometime. And I'm like, why the fuck would you want that in there? Like, are you trying to just make her seem just like a POS? Like, and she's like, oh, I love the smell. I'm like, really? Man, that's messed up.
Yeah, I can't remember now. Rewatching it now, I don't like Shay, and I don't know if it's because of who she becomes or if I never liked Shay. I don't remember when I first watched it if I liked her or not.
So what are Jenna's thoughts on Shay?
I'll have to ask her. She's kind of in and out on the episodes.
Right,
She'll watch a couple episodes and then she won't. And it's
really the way to watch Game of Thrones because you don't need to be in all the time to get it. It's a very approachable show. You can just jump right in wherever and you'll be fine.
Jump right in. There's only a couple characters to know, so
yeah. For the good, the bad, and the jugglies today, all I wrote down was prostitutes, and I don't really know what I meant. I guess there were some naked prostitutes at one point. I feel like I'm really prepared for this episode. I did make a note later down just that whorehouse scene. I think it's where Roz is teaching the prostitutes now. It's like, oh, she's taken over now. She's kind of this. She's assistant manager of the whorehouse to Littlefinger. She rose in the ranks pretty quickly.
Yeah,
and there's just actual sex happening.
Yeah, there's a dude is actually playing a dude this time. Yeah.
Big moment. Anything else that you guys want to hit on? Again, starting off, I think on a solid note, if slightly forgettable for episode 1.
Yeah, I think I agree. And I think the reason we don't give like formal rankings to the episodes is because for the majority, because we're fans, we're gonna say they're good. So it's like it's kind of hard to give formal ratings. But I think for what we've seen so far, coming off the end of season 1, I think this episode's a little bit lower for me, but it has a lot to set up for being the first episode of a season. So I give it a break on that.
I will just say the one thing, like for Daenerys, like I feel in this, she's such a slowly developed character. Like in the first couple seasons, or first 2 seasons especially, like so we get the dragons, right, and then suddenly it goes to being this whole, I got dragon babies and I'm just gonna wander in the desert. And you're like, okay. And I feel like there's a lot. They tried to make it interesting, but it was probably the slowest part for me. Like I don't know. I could easily skip over a lot of those things with her, and her, small, very small following. So
I'm not gonna say it's a particularly exciting part to watch. I mean, she's in this desperate situation, and I actually love that arc because you go off of season 1 and you're like, okay, Dany's been beaten down to shit, but what's she got to show for it? She's just hatched creatures that haven't existed in hundreds of years, feared across the 7 kingdoms. She is working with this mythical magic of disobeying all the odds and everything like this, and she seems to be in a very high point, and I like that they cut her down, and they're like, yeah, those dragons are going to be great if you could keep them alive, if you can make it through this. Like they're taking her and they're like, oh yeah, you've got that card to play in your pocket, but you got to find the table first. And I think it's a really cool thing. It is super slow, I agree with you, but I'm having a this is one of the parts where I like Dany's story because I think it makes sense. Later down the road it gets more exciting, but it also goes 0 to 100 and just it gets a little rough for me. But
yeah, I agree. I think you gotta, especially given how long her character arc is, which we know, and I'm sure the writers knew this too, obviously. So I think they wanted a character in a show where a lot of characters don't survive that long. I think they wanted a character that you really got to ride for a long time, that someone you could root for, that you were there for the lows and all that stuff. So I think she's got a good arc. I agree. I think at times like individual episodes can drag with her, and I don't know. I think they wanted to introduce her early because she is an absolutely huge main character, but I think that given they introduced her so early and she was so popular and probably felt like they needed to include her a lot, that there is some scenes that probably didn't need to be there, like in the long run, because granted, I mean, we know she doesn't come over to Westeros for a long time. So.
Takes a good minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. Well, Season 2, Episode 1, The North Remembers. Of course, our thoughts here. You can have your own, and you can have wrong ones, which you probably do if they're different from ours. If you want to hit up our social media, you can find us at Thrones and Scones.
Before we go there, I mean, we got to get into our deep love for those sweet scones.
I was going to get there. I'm not you. I don't
I'm
I
so
don't
excited
about
this Monday morning scone.
All right, we're places you can find us. And we also have scones. Hans, you've got lemon poppy seed today, is that correct?
I'm episode 3, bro.
Oh, sorry, Jeremy, you have the scone today.
Oh, yeah. So my scone today actually is from Emporium. It is a raspberry coconut. It was probably the worst scone I've ever eaten.
Oh no!
Yeah, no, it's a shame because they've been so good.
I would
for
love
me,
to hear all about it, but it's unfortunate
just...
that we've kind of hit our time limit here, unfortunately. And also, I said lemon poppy seed in the intro, so we're gonna actually have to re-record the entire episode. Welcome to Thrones and Scones. It's your... Never mind. You down with GOT?
Yeah, you know me. I couldn't remember if we started a topic because now the flow was going so well. I was like, oh yeah, we're talking about everything, and then
I was just about to drop it in, and I didn't want to interrupt you on the outro, so I figured I could just ask it afterwards.
No, I interrupt him on the outro. Like, fuck you.
All right, for the 8th episode in a row, Hans, what's your topic?
So just a little question for you guys here. Now that we've been introduced to a good chunk of Westeros and Essos, obviously we still have a lot of places left, but and we were kind of seeing how people are living in these places and all these different cities and areas. If you had to be dropped into Game of Thrones right now, if you had to live in one of these places, not necessarily knowing, and you can get specific even if you want to be like, rich, poor, whatever, because honestly I don't know who has the better shot at living at this point. So where are you dropping yourself in this Westeros Essos?
Now, are we limiting it to locations that we've seen on screen?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna ask.
I don't think so. I think we're seasoned Thrones watchers at this point. So I think we can we know who our listeners are. We got a lot of Throners out there that would appreciate a true in-depth answer.
Okay. My true in-depth answer will go along the lines of late last season when I said that if I was actually in Westeros, despite the badass I would want to be, I would just be Bran Stark, confused, probably shitting myself, and just really trying to hunker down and survive. And so I would love a lot of money, and I would love it if you just stuck me in Karth, and then after Daenerys gets out of there, we don't have to think about it ever again. I can feed the birds. I can just kind of hang out in the greatest city that ever was or will be, and just forget all my troubles.
Yeah, it's a good answer.
It's a lame answer, but I do not want to die.
Yeah, it's true. I wonder if this will be interesting. This will be interesting, like psychological question here. Tell us a little bit about our own characters.
Yeah. So I'm a bitch. Jeremy, where do you stand?
Oh God. I mean, I thought Karth was a cool city, in the sense that I like the whole port and the water, and then also kind of the protection of the desert. So I think that was kind of a neat place to kind of be. I would probably say there, or I don't know. That's probably my top answer right now. Just thinking about.
Yeah, dude, we could start some sort of bar.
Yeah, I mean,
Karth.
Yeah.
We could start a podcast over in Karth.
We could start a podcast.
I mean, it's like. I mean, I'm what a port is critical, right, to a city, and I think that's what's awesome about that is you're gonna have a great access to an international travel. Some nice ladies.
Are you doing a lot of international travel in Westeros, Essos? If you're living there, you guys.
I mean,
you
with
and Emily
dragons,
you and Emily going on a lot of vacations and stuff out there.
To the other free cities.
Yeah, if you're just going for a visit, where are you going?
Probably
a honeymoon vacay.
What? The Wall, of course. Honeymoon
vacay to the Wall.
Change of temperature, right? I'm in the summer temperature. I need a little bit of some Four Seasons / one season.
It's such one very awful season. I mean, like, Bravos is just like a violent Venice, right? Like,
Yes.
you just go there and hang out in the canals and try to avoid the severed heads.
I can tell you probably where I'm not staying. That's going to be Winterhelm. Just like, what a depressing place that is.
Hans, where would you live in Westeros?
Yeah, so I mean, I think before you guys said it, I think, especially if you guys are gonna be living there anyway, I think Karth was gonna be my answer, but I'm gonna give a different answer.
Okay.
Just to throw something else out there,
Yeah.
and mix it up a bit. I think, and again, I don't exactly remember the rest of the show, so this answer may be terrible. But I think I'd probably just throw myself. I wouldn't be one of the highest royalty by any means, because
You're a target.
I think you're a target. There's too much going on there, especially with everything else that's going on in Westeros and SS. So I would maybe just like, if there is such a thing as middle class in the Game of Thrones world in this era, which there's probably not, I'd throw myself in relative middle class, like a little bit under the upper class.
Sure.
And I'd maybe just throw myself in Dorne. They just party out there.
They do.
They do.
There's a lot of partying
Yeah.
in Dorne. Lots of it's a very dry heat.
Yeah, that's true. But it's
Dorne,
pretty
which is fair.
extravagant. So
It is nice.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, Littlefinger is a bitch, but I mean, I think having a brothel, like, I mean, he has a good income. I mean, he's got access to, a high class like clientele. I mean, that's kind of where I would say I would set up my role. I mean, it's just
Maybe
too
brothel?
good.
brothel.
But then you gotta passively aggressively threaten these girls and say like,
Do you? Do you? I mean, like,
you don't look happy right now, and
I mean, so you just sell him off. Like his plan is, he's like, bitch, like I will get rid of you, no problem.
Yeah,
plenty of
I don't know.
skank in this world.
I feel like that's so. It just thinking about what this world must be like. I think Game of Thrones is really not giving a clear enough picture of how dirty these people would probably be. And like, everyone's so clean, and like, there's no chance. And first of all, those STDs had to be running rampant.
they're so
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
but I mean, there's the alchemy, right? A couple drops in, you're good.
I guess.
Takes care.
But
Yeah,
even the highborn. I mean, we talked about it in our bonus episode. Like Tyrion and Jaime got so dirty that their hair color permanently changed.
I mean, when Shay says that whole stool and cum thing in this episode, I just like, oh god, that must fucking reek all the time there.
It's got to be a great.
Yeah.
It's a great city. I like the fact, real quick, before we get on out again out of the post outro world that we're living in. There are a lot of podcasts, a lot of people out there that talk what I like to call big dick game, and it's where you just kind of swing these accusations around, like like the world ain't shit, and you're on top of it. And we talk a lot of game about big dicks here on the show, but I like the fact that we're all very down to earth, and we just kind of want to hang out and survive.
yeah.
Well, it never
We're
works
all gonna
out.
be out there killing dragons.
We're
and,
basically all
stuff.
just giant cowards.
Total cowards.